All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Parsha review. Last week we did 2 portions. This week we're going to do 1. And we're going to do the Parsha of Chukas. Chukas is the 6th portion in the book of Numbers, in the book of Bamidbar. And it is the 39th portion. As you'll remember, we mentioned this multiple times previously, that there are 54 portions in the Torah. And we're at 39, so we're getting close to the end of the Torah. We're just an amazing midrash. The midrash says that really there are 7 books of the Torah. What is it? We know there are 5. It's a shocker, right? What do you mean 7 books? There are 5 books in the Torah. What are you talking about, Rabbi? Okay, so let me tell you. Beautiful idea. We know that the last book of the Torah, Deuteronomy, is considered a review of the entire Torah. Yeah. Okay? Mm-hmm. That's clear. Everybody says that it's called, actually, our sages call it Mishnah Torah, which Mishnah means to shinui, which is to review. The Shanot means to review. The review of the entire Torah. Okay, so where do you have, if that's number 7, where's number 5 and 6? So let me introduce you what the Midrash says, a beautiful, incredible idea. We go back to Parshas Ba'aloscha. In Parshas Ba'aloscha, we talk about the menorah, talk about the really great, fantastic things. And then we have the weirdest thing. The weirdest thing. It is the upside down nuns. You ever notice the upside down nuns? I'll show it to you here online. You see upside down nun, upside down nun. You see that? Mm-hmm. Upside down nun. Okay. What's going on with those upside down nuns? I mean, what is that? Our sages tell us that the book of Numbers, the book of Bamidbar, till that point, is the 4th book of the Torah. That those 2 verses of Vayehi b'Tzoa Aaron, and when the ark would journey, Moses said, "Arise, Hashem, and let your foes be scattered," is in itself a book of the Torah.
How did you get to the 4th book?
This is the 4th book.
No, book. This book is the 4th book.
1 second, I'm explaining. Between the 2 nuns is its own book of the Torah. 2 portions, two verses. 2 verses in Ba'aloscha are its own book of the Torah. And then, from that point on, is the 6th book of the Torah. That's what the Midrash says.
That makes no sense.
I know. One second.
Okay.
So let me explain. Okay, let me explain. If you look at everything that was going on right after that point, it's all of the negativity. You have the complainers. You have those who are complaining with too much meat and too little meat, and they don't like this and like that. You have you have Korach. You have the spies. You have so many problems with the Jewish people. All the wars are here. The Torah doesn't want that to be one of those books of the Torah. So the Torah makes a separation between the beginning of Bamidbar, of the book of Numbers. Then you have Vayehi b'Tzoa Aaron, which is about the carrying of the tabernacle and the ark. And then we have all the wars and all the struggles. And then you have the review, which is Deuteronomy. So the Midrash says, obviously, we know it's the 5 books of the Torah. We know the 5 books of Moses. But there is some type of understanding, deep understanding, that these are really 7 books of the Torah. Right? It's a very interesting. I heard this Midrash from Rabbi. I knew it, but then I heard it from the source when Rabbi Mastery once spoke about it in one of his sermons at Congregation Beth Rambam. He mentioned this midrash, and brought this up. And it's a really profound idea. Now, why am I mentioning this here? Because in this week's Parsha, we have got a lot of problems. We've got a lot of problems going on in this week's Parsha. So we have the Parsha of Chukas. And here we go. We start with, we have three commandments before we begin. We have 87 verses, 1,245 words, and 4,670 letters. So three performative commandments. And then this week's Torah portion, the theme is wars and transitions. Wars and transitions. So we start with the red heifer. The laws of the red heifer of the Parah Aduma, the red heifer, are detailed. The laws are for the ritual purification of one who comes in contact with a dead person, a dead body. Now, we have to understand something. Nobody fully understood this mitzvah. Everybody wanted to know what is the explanation, what is the meaning behind it. Aside for, I believe, Moshe Rabbeinu, nobody knew the explanation. And King Solomon, who was the wisest of all men, said, it's as if I have no wisdom because I don't understand the wisdom of the red heifer. I'm blocked. It was blocked out. He couldn't understand it. I think he said the verse is I learned wisdom, but yet it's so distant from me. I know nothing. Why do I know nothing? Because I don't know the red heifer. The world and how it functions and how it operates and how the brilliance of this world is not easy to understand. And King Solomon felt that not having this piece of the puzzle, it was like the whole puzzle wasn't put together. Then we have the story of Miriam.
Of what?
Miriam, after nearly 40 years in the desert, Miriam dies and is buried at a place called Kadesh. The people complain about the loss of their water supply that until now had been provided miraculously in the merit of Miriam's righteousness. Aaron and Moshe pray for the people's welfare. Okay? And that we see in the verses until verse number 6. So 20, verse number 6. Then we have Moshe, Hashem telling Moshe, take your stick, gather the people together, vidibartem elasela, and you shall talk to the rock, right? And that's in chapter 20, verse 7 and 8. Really incredible. And in verse number 10, Moshe hits the rock. In verse number 11, he hits the rock. So what happens? Hashem commands them to gather the nation at Merivah. Merivah. Why Merivah? Anybody know why it's called Merivah?
Is it quarrel?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the people were quarreling, right? When things don't go our way, we don't always handle it properly, right? Merivah. Merivah means a fight, a quarrel. So they're told to gather at Merivah and speak to the designated rock so the water will flow forth. Distressed by the people's lack of faith, Moshe hits the rock instead of speaking to it. I want to share with you a midrash after about why Moshe chose to hit the rock and not speak to the rock. I mentioned this in the past, but he thus fails to produce the intended public demonstration of Hashem's mastery over the world, which would have resulted had the rock produced the water merely at Moshe's word and not by hitting the rock. Therefore, Hashem tells Moshe and Aaron that they will not bring the people into the land. It's a big punishment. It's a hefty punishment. Mm-hmm. The obvious question is, one second. Hitting the rock is any less of a miracle than speaking to the rock. What happened here?
He spoke to some other rocks and they didn't. was fine.
But when was the last time you hit a rock and water came flying out of the rock?
But
Right?
God creates with words.
Okay, but here,
But that's not the reason.
but I'm just trying to ask a question here. Why is it any less a miracle? It's not less a miracle. So what's the big? Okay, I understand. Moshe deserves a potch. He deserves a little spanking on his hand. You didn't listen to me. I told you to talk to the rock. You didn't talk to the rock. So now you're not. What's the big deal? Still a major miracle. Now they're not going to believe in me because you hit the rock instead of speaking to the rock. What does it have any different effect? Any less of a miracle? I don't think it's any less of a miracle. If we were all stuck in the desert, okay? If we were all stuck in the desert, we're so hot, please, Rabbi, save us, save us. And I say, here, watch this. I hit a rock and boom, water comes flying out. It's like, oh my God, Rabbi, you're amazing. I can't believe it. You brought water out of a rock. You think anybody cares that I didn't speak to the rock? I mean, give me a break. Why? Why does God care? Let me hear. And why did Moshe choose not to? Was Moshe a little child? He didn't know. Oh, he just got upset. He lost his temper. No, that's not what happened. Let me tell you what the Midrash says. So amazing. Moshe knew that whatever Israel did not hear a type of miracle at the time. I hear that. Okay, Tabitha, thank you. I hear that. Moshe knew that with whatever desire he dies with is what's going to be the inheritance forever for the Jewish people. Okay? That means that if Moshe dies with a passion for something, the Jewish people's inheritance will forever be that passion. So let me ask you a question, Dave. Dave,
Yes.
where's your great-grandfather from?
I don't know.
Where's your grandfather from?
Well, one was from Poland.
Poland.
Poland, okay? Any other grandparent that you know, grandfather, grandmother,
No.
where they're from?
No.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
How many times did you have a desire to go back to Poland?
Never.
Never in your life, right? Anybody here have any desire to go to the motherland of our ancestors? I had, exactly.
If you were born in Israel.
I was born in Israel. Okay, that's but everybody throughout our history has the desire to go to the land of Israel.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing. You never see someone's like, I can't wait to go to Brazil. Right? Nobody has such a desire. Nobody. It's like, oh, I immigrated from Russia and I can't wait to go back to Moscow. Nobody ever had that. Ever on planet Earth. Except for the Jewish people without desire to go back to the land of Israel. You know why? That's our inheritance that we got from Moshe. Moshe said, I can either be selfish, enter into the land of Israel, and the Jewish people won't have that same passion. Or, looking into the future, understanding that we're going to have exiles, that we're going to be removed from our land, we're not going to have a temple, I can leave them with a desire to come to the land of Israel forever and ever.
So he did that on purpose?
Correct. That's what the Midrash says, is that he intentionally did this, knowing he was going to be punished, so that this be the inheritance for the Jewish people. That they will always have a passion and a desire to go to the land of Israel. Mind blown. Isn't that amazing?
It was brilliant.
What?
It was brilliant.
What's that?
I'm still going to stick. I believe it's another reason.
Oh, there are thousands of reasons. Of course there are.
I don't think.
Of course there are.
The great and wonderful.
Moshe
Moses
isn't an
is
idol,
bringing us to the promised land.
but he's ready to take us. He's
He
ready to.
leaves and they go by. You know what I'm saying? He's no longer there. He might be there in spirit, but he's not there directing them.
He's ready to give up on that. That's exactly the idea.
Yeah, because I don't think Hashem wanted him to become an idol of the Jewish people.
Oh, so you're saying from that standpoint. Look, but he probably knew. Moshe, I think, knew the score pretty well, okay? And he knew what the consequences would be. He's seen God in action for the last 120 years, almost 120 years now. Right? Again, don't forget that the whole book of Deuteronomy is only 36 days. The entire book of Deuteronomy is 36 days. The last 36 days of Moshe's life. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. He was a prophet. He was a prophet. Right? So there's no question that Moshe here did a calculated move. It was a calculated move. Notwithstanding, there's a punishment for it. You have good intentions, doesn't make a difference. You're still going to have a punishment. And he was willing to take that punishment, knowing that for him personally, it might be a diminished result, but for everybody else, it was going to be the greatest of all time, the greatest gift in the world.
So I don't think he took that as a punishment. I think he took that as a positive.
Right, but it's still painful when you get the potch. It's still painful, even though you know it's for a good cause. It's not what we say in Yiddish. It's not geschmack. It's not enjoyable. Okay, so Hashem tells Moshe and Aaron that they will not bring the people into the land. If we look over here, what it's in verse number 12.
No, God actually took the top of the map of them to see it.
That's what he's talking about.
Right? Lo saviu es hakol hazeh el haaretz. This is verse number 12 in chapter 20. Asher nasati lohem, which I promised, which I gave to them. Hey momei miriva asher rovu bnei Yisrael es Hashem vayikadesh bam. So Rashi says here, so Rashi says an interesting thing, that what was the sanctification of God's name that would have resulted in Moshe talking to the rock, is that they would say to themselves, look at this rock. He doesn't talk, he doesn't listen, doesn't hear, and he doesn't need parnasa, doesn't need livelihood, and he follows what God says. So us, even more so. We do hear, we do talk, we do need livelihood. Even more so, we should listen to what Hashem says. That was the calculation that they would have. The God is promising here that they will not enter the land. So when God makes a very forceful promise, there's nothing to pray now and to beg. So like a parent says no, so depending on what type of no. If it's an emphatic no, don't even bother because, right? But if it's just a no, maybe there's room for negotiation, right? And the kids know how to negotiate. And here, basically, God was giving them no room for negotiation.
How long after Moses died did the Jewish people enter the land of Israel? Was it instantaneous? Or
Not instantaneous, but pretty soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest. It's my daughter, Meira.
I'm so happy you fell.
How are you? Good, how are you?
Good girl. All grown up.
You're all grown up.
How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
I know, I think I met you before, right? Yeah, I think we did.
I'm Bruce. I'm her husband.
This is Cece Solnick from Passaic, New Jersey. Hi.
All right, welcome to you. Yeah. You've been here before?
Hey, how are you? I am on video. Are you recording? Of course, you can always give me a kiss.
Hi,
This is
everyone.
my daughter.
Aw.
How are you? Welcome back.
Who's on here? Hi, Eliza.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Who else?
Anna,
Amazing to see you.
Hi, Anna.
Drew,
Hi,
Martha,
Andrew, Martha,
Tabitha.
Tabitha.
Hi.
Can I borrow
He's the
you so
cutest.
that glow?
So good to see you.
Okay, I'm leaving, but see ya.
Bye-bye, sweetie. Nice meeting you.
One second. Do you want, Miri, you want some water?
Treat your friend.
Talk to the fridge. Talk to the fridge. It might bring forth water.
But don't hit it.
Don't hit the fridge. She's 18.
18.
Yeah, she's a
Well,
good
she's
girl.
pretty.
Golly.
Rabbi, she's so pretty.
Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. She gets all the looks from my wife.
I can tell.
So-
She was like
She was like 8 or 6 or
Yeah.
something.
See that?
You've been coming for 10 years.
Well,
More.
well,
That's
well,
what I'm
okay.
talking about. Yeah.
She and Dovey were just fun kids. Yeah.
Now they're fun adults.
Well, I'm sure they are. I just don't see them as much as I get.
Thank you. I apologize to the people who are going to watch this later on YouTube. They could be like, what in the world is going on here? But we're a family here. Sorry. So it's like, join our family. Join our family. All right. See you later.
Bye. Rabbi.
Yeah, she's great.
Rabbi,
She's great.
Are you discounting the other explanation?
No, God forbid. If you open up the art
There's
scroll,
so many of them.
no, if you open up the art scroll Chumash, she has over here 10 or 15 different explanations to the sin and why Moshe did it, and et cetera, et cetera. It's like this is obvious that we have hundreds of reasons. I'm not discounting anything. They're all right. And even if they conflict with each other, they're still all right. All right.
Great study. Everything's right.
Everything is right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
I like to go to that college. I never have to get anything wrong.
That's right. You don't even take that exam, right?
Okay. Now the Jewish people resume their travel, but because of the king of Edom, they're not allowed to go through his land, a descendant of Esav. He denies them passage through his country. They do not travel the most direct route to Eretz Yisrael, to the land of Israel, and instead they need to go around the whole land, which is a big pain in the neck. Just let us cut through. We're not going to bother you.
Yeah.
He says, no. Okay, no. Now we'll
Driving through Texas to get to New Jersey.
right. So next is about Aaron. And we see, again, Miriam already passed away in this week's Torah portion. And now, sadly, the Jewish people are going to lose Aaron. Again, this is verse number 20, chapter number 20, verse number 22, all the way till, we'll see in a minute. When they reach Mount Har, which is Hor Hahar, Aaron dies, and his son Elazar is invested with his priestly garments and responsibilities. Aaron was beloved by all, and the nation mourns him for 30 days.
Do you think he died because of the rock, or do you think he died because of the golden?
Well,
Yeah.
one of the things that we're learning, I don't know the answer. I don't know why he died, but what I do know is that we see there's a major investment here in the transition of leadership.
Mhm.
And we'll soon see in the coming weeks that Moshe was about to give over the reins to Joshua. And Moshe is asked to step outside of the tent because now Joshua is getting, he's the new president, so to speak. He's not to compare between holy and unholy, but he's the new president here. And he's the president. The president now gets the briefings, not the former president. I'm sorry, you're no longer the chief, right? So, and that's part of the transition. So what happens, he takes Aaron and he undresses him, and all of this happens till the end of verse number 29, which is the end of chapter 20 of the book of Numbers. Then we have the last chapter here talks about the fight with Sichon. Okay, so Sichon, the Amorite, attacks the Jewish people now that they're traveling. They're an easy target. They're not there. They don't have any established land, right? It's easy to knock them off, and they attack the Jewish people when they ask to pass through their land. That we don't take lightly. Before by Kadesh, by wherever they were, right? There was the king of Edom, right? He says no, okay. But here, they asked to go through, and they had said they attack us, right? No. That we're not willing to take, right? As a result, the Jewish people conquered the land of Sichon that had previously seized from the Ammonites on the east bank of the Jordan River. So here now we're about, if we look at the art scroll in the back, they have these, in the new art scrolls, they have all of the drawings. This one doesn't have it. But the The newer ones have the exact travel route of the Jewish people. So if you take basically the whole Sinai Peninsula and the southern part of Israel, basically they were traveling down to the bottom of the Sinai Peninsula, which over there is Mount Sinai, and slowly made it up and around, had to go around all of these lands to get to Jordan and come into Israel through the Jordan River. Eventually that happens with Joshua. But what's interesting is that we're soon going to see, again, it's not very long, it's not even a year from now that Moshe is going to die. It's not even a year. Right? We still have the story of Bilam, we have Bilam and Balak, and we have the story of Pinchas, and we still have a lot going on, but it's not much time that all of this transpires in, and Moshe is about to die. Right? So they have traveling to do to get the Jewish people prepared, to get the new leadership ready to go, and to write the Torah. Moshe still has to write 13 copies of the Torah, because all of this that we are reading right now is still being assembled at this time. So when the Jewish people were actually in this battle, they still didn't have an actual physical full Torah yet. They learned the mitzvos, they learned what's kosher, what's not kosher. They learned all of the important things that they needed to know, like putting on tefillin every day and giving a bris to a baby at 8 days old and keeping the Shabbos, etc., and the laws that are going to apply to the land when they're in the land of Israel, and the laws that are going to apply when they have a tabernacle in the land of Israel, right? A temple, and they had Mishkan Shiloh, which was serving them for a long time till the temple was actually built. And I recommend that whenever we do get to Israel, we go to see Shiloh. It's one of the most, on our last trip to Israel, one of the most fascinating and emotional parts of our trip was when we went to Shiloh. And they did the excavation in the area where the old temple was, where the temporary temple was. It's fascinating. And then we went to the winery to drink some wine. There's Shiloh Winery, which they sell, by the way, Shiloh wine, which is one of the finest wines from Israel. They sell it at Costco here, so you can enjoy a really nice bottle of Israeli wine, top of the line Shiloh wine, or Shiloh, that they call it Shiloh. But it really is fascinating. It's fascinating. But yes, the Jewish people are. They face a whole bunch of battles, a whole bunch of people die, and you don't mess with the Jewish people. That's the bottom line, right? Well, how does it go? They waged war.
They tried to kill us.
They tried to kill us. We won.
Let's see.
Let's eat. There we go. They tried to kill us. We won. Let's eat. There we go. Thank you. So
that comes from Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Give your credit.
Attribution. There we go. That's what we're doing. It's a theme, right? So, my dear friends, that concludes today's summary. And I look forward, hopefully I'll have assistance from above and we'll be able to finish the rest of the podcast. But I think we have another 26 podcasts to go to have them all up on the pod cloud. And just FYI, I did a class, I taught a class this Sunday morning for my brother, and I couldn't sleep Saturday night. I really couldn't sleep. And I couldn't sleep because I had no idea what I was going to talk about at class. And I was like tossing, and I you can ask my wife, I hit the pillow, I'm out. And I was tossing and turning. I couldn't sleep because I couldn't be calm till I knew what I was talking about. And then the idea came to my mind of what I needed to talk about. And I'm fascinated by the class because, I mean, we were learning a book that I promised that we're going to start learning together, which was The Depths of Judaism through the lens of Hasidic teachings. And so that was the first class. I'm sorry you didn't have that link, but I didn't have it for a few minutes before the class. But this week I'll make sure you have it. I'll make sure I email it out to everyone. And you'll listen. I should have it out within the next 12 to 24 hours. It's understanding the world of pleasure. Okay, or Judaism's perspective on pleasure. It really is fascinating material. And it's all.
I think you've given us that speech.
Not this. I mean, a lot of it has been in previous classes. We talked about it when we did the Ramchal teachings of Ramchal, when we did the first chapter, and I mentioned that. But this is something special. So I'm really excited about it. I'm looking forward to finishing up the edit of the podcast tonight, and tomorrow morning, hopefully, I'll have it out. Maybe.
When you were teaching this, you said it was for your brother.
My brother's has the Sunday morning
gives a
class.
10 a.m. class.
He gives a 10 a.m. class, and
You
he's
haven't actually started.
no. I taught it already this past Sunday. But
Are you
this
going to be teaching it all summer?
no. So what I'm thinking is to restart my own Sunday morning class and
okay.
continue with that.
Rabbi,
okay.
What about, you're finished with the ways, right?
Right.
What about if we went back and finished the whole?
The halacha. Oh, the
The Chumash
chumash. Okay, we
study.
can do that.
We
Where
don't-
are we holding?
We only talked about that.
But we haven't
5 years.
Okay. So if we get, you know what, put together the group and let's do it. Let's do it.
I thought that's what Tuesday night was supposed to be.
Yeah, part Chumash and
And
part
living Jewish, living Jewish, the first part was supposed to be Polish.
We have the idea is that I wanted to combine two different classes. That was the idea, is you come and you get them both. So we're going to go back to next week. We're going to do the halacha segment in the first 45 minutes, and then we're going to do the Parsha again at the second half of it. Yeah, so bring your books back, and we got to let Wendy know.
I love that class. I love that.
So we're going to return to the practical halacha.
It would be nice to get it from the rabbi.
Yes, but
And by the way, as soon as we're done this year's cycle of the Parsha, we're going to have to find new material to learn about. So on the Parsha.
We'll just start all over and do something else.
I know we're going to have to decide what that is. So we did the Little Medrash Says, we did Rabbi Wolbe on Chumash, we did my summary of the Parsha, but we still have to do more.
We'll find something.
I'm sure we will. I'm not worried about it.
Is there anything by Rabbi Kaplan that we could do?
Oh, there's too much.
Yeah.
There's too much.
I was just listening to him this morning, and he, it's like listening to Einstein on religion.